Now that we've taken a little tour of Angular and we've looked at how it works and we've let our app finish installing, we're ready to start our app and get to the real meat of this walkthrough. We're going to actually play with Angular for a bit. So in your terminal here, let's run a dir to see what options we have. I got my book API and my book client. Since book client is the React app, I'm going to cd into my book client. I'm going to make a dir here just to check where I'm at. I'm going to clear it. And then I'm going to run ng serve -o. ng serve -o is going to tell the Angular CLI to start running our app. It's going to create kind of a live server similar to what we've seen with npm start with React, but this is specific for Angular. You can tell because of the ng, that is the prefix that goes in front of all of our ng Angular commands. It might take a little bit to get this started, so let's just go ahead and skip ahead. Alright, so if your ng serve -o was successful, you should see this printing out in your terminal, which is basically a huge success message. And Angular should have opened up your brand new Angular app. It doesn't look very good right now, but that's okay because we are about to tear most of this code out. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse my terminal. And I'm going to go to my app component. And the first thing I'm going to remove is this image. I'm also going to select the entire UL and cut that out too. Tidy it up a little. I'll get rid of the H2. Take out the exclamation point. The rest of that line. Cool. So now I just have this div, and I've got an H1, and that's it. I'm going to save it because that's all I want to start off with. Once I have that HTML done, I'm going to go over to my app component, and I'm going to change book client here to capital B, OK, capital C, client. I'm going to save that. So now that I've modified my app component.ts and my app component.html, I'm going to go take a look at my Angular app and see how it looks now. And I have just book client here. That's it. Because that's all I have over here in my HTML. Now you might have also noticed that I've got some kind of weird syntax here, and I've got the title that's been defined in the component.ts displaying in my component.html. And that's because I'm using Angular's most basic form of data binding. It's called interpolation. Using these two curly brace sets, I can pass any value here, like title, that is defined in that app's TS file. So here, title equals capital letters book client. So in my app, the title in the HTML is book client. There's another form of data binding that we can also do here with Angular, and it's called two-way binding. Before we can really get started with that, we need to open up our app module.ts, and we need to make an import. So in between my imports for Angular and between my app component being imported, I'm going to add import forms module from at Angular/forms. I'm going to make sure I keep that enter, that single space here, to separate my Angular imports and my actual app component imports. I'll save that. And then in my imports down here in this array, I'll add a comma and add my forms module. Awesome. Now that's going to let me use all of the different capabilities that we're going to get from the forms module from Angular. So let's go play with some of them. Underneath my H1, I'm going to add an input. I'm going to give it a type equals text. And then I'm going to use two-way data binding to attach to a value. To do that, I'm going to start with a set of brackets. Inside there, I'm going to add a set of parentheses, and then I'm going to add ng model. Outside of my parentheses and square brackets, I'm going to set it to name in quotes. Underneath my new input, I'm going to set up a p tag and use string interpolation to use this name property. But I also need to add the name property into my app component.ts. So underneath title equals book client, I'm going to add name equals, and I'm actually going to set its value to an empty string. So we'll save that. Now let's go see what we can do in our app. So I'll click inside this input, and I'll add my name. And if I keep typing, it changes and it updates with every change here. And that's because we're using two-way data binding using Angular. We have defined a value here, name, in our component, and then we're binding to that name property here with our input, and we're also outputting our name in the p tag, so that when I type something, it updates as I'm typing it. That is two-way data binding with Angular.